Hi everyone. So in this video, I'm going to give an overview of the UI redesign proposal for Electron Cash. But first, here's a little context. The original scope of the redesign was small changes that could be implemented incrementally. This proposal does include several bigger picture changes to Electron Cash's interface. I'm including them because I think they're important and have a lot of potential and should be considered, but I understand that will be up to Electron Cash stakeholders to decide what gets prioritized or implemented at all. The Figma prototype is unfortunately incomplete. This is a failure on my part to fulfill a deliverable promised in the Flipstarter campaign, but I'm over budget, behind schedule, so it's time to present what I have and go from there. First up are what I'll call like global changes to the design that apply interface-wide. And the first instance of that is just like very generally the visual style of the proposal. Button styles and text choices and colors and border widths and things like that. While it would be great to give Electron Cash an aesthetic upgrade and make the UI more visually consistent, all those new things should really be considered secondary to the general size and placement of those elements. That's really what the proposal is about. And while the choices of those things for the prototype weren't arbitrary, they are certainly secondary. Other than that, we've reserved underline text for hoverable tooltips so that a user can quickly identify where there's more information available about a word or phrase they don't understand. That shouldn't be too hard to do, but it does mean that underlined text can't be used elsewhere if you want to remain consistent. Of course, that could really be any visual marker, right? You can make it so that purple highlighted text is the hoverable tooltip text, but the proposal anyway goes with underlined text. So let's dive into the startup wizard. First off, we've added a graphical interface to the startup screen for selecting from existing wallets. And this is a big improvement from needing to either type a wallet name or select the file from the File Explorer dialog. Being able to associate an image or color with each wallet would be ideal. For the new wallet process, the options are sorted into just two categories. The main wallet options on the startup screen, create new wallet, import seed phrase, and set apart a wallet. And everything else like multisig, importing private keys, watch only wallets, and things like that, you'll find in the other wallet option screen. And there will be explanations for each. Aside from some clear explanations, the process for creating a new wallet or importing a seed phrase is mostly the same. You pick your wallet name, we give them their seed words, we number them. We do strongly recommend an option to allow users to continue without confirming their seed words, because leaving the user no choice is just as likely to convince them to take a picture of their seed phrase or save it as a text file as it is to get them to do things the right way. So clicking continue before entering any seed words can bring up a strongly worded warning with instructions on how seed words can be accessed later. And then you've got your passphrase or seed word extension, wallet password, and then finally that takes you to the main wallet interface. So in the current design, that main interface is made of tabs, a status bar, and the drop-down menus at the top of the screen, which can be used to access a bunch of other features. By combining the transaction history with the receiving address, and then providing buttons to navigate to the send and payment request interfaces instead of tabs, we arrive at a pretty convenient home screen for the wallet, which the current release of Electron Cash is severely lacking. And the rest of the tabs features can actually be distributed among the wallet tools and settings interfaces, removing the need for tabs entirely, which greatly simplifies the interface. And we use a sidebar instead of the drop-down menus for its accessibility and for its consistent experience across operating systems. So the status bar shows the user's balance, the connection status, and the cash fusion status. The balance includes unconfirmed transactions, and there's no need to concern a user with details about whether coins they have are confirmed or not, unless they've checked the spend only confirmed coins option. And so instead of that, we can use a more general spendable field that shows the amount available to send given all user-imposed restrictions, like frozen coins or unfused coins or unconfirmed coins if they have that setting checked. And of course, that second field is only necessary when the two are different. So you'll just see balance unless you have some restriction, making it so that you can't spend your full balance. For the transaction history, the current release actually uses like color-coded clock or timer icons to indicate the number of confirmations a transaction has, up to 6, after which it'll show a check mark. And there's no reason to impose an arbitrary system like that on users, especially since the check mark actually hides information from the user. The redesign just provides the number of confirmations to the user directly. For the send interface, we separate the functions into normal and advanced. We hide the advanced options by default, and we emphasize the send button since that's the most important button on the screen. We also include a dedicated UI for the pay to many feature, and a button for including tokens in a transaction. The payment request screen takes the place of the Receive tab in the existing interface. So it's great that Electron Cash already supports cash tokens. The interface could use its own overhaul, I'm sure, but for now, I think just copying over the current interface will work just fine until we know more about how people are going to be using cash tokens. For the wallet and tools menus, this is where you'll see similar menus to the one we saw in the startup wizard, where we have options on the left and more information on the right. So here's the password / wallet encryption screen, the page for backing up your seed words. We have an other wallet info screen. That's sort of a catch-all for things like the type of wallet, script type, master public key. It's also where you export your individual private keys. You got the coins page, addresses, which I don't think is, no, it's not implemented yet. Scan beyond the gap tool, and rebuilding the wallet history. So in the tools, we've got Cash Fusion, and we've combined a lot of the Cash Fusion functionality into one place. The only thing that's separated are the Cash Fusion specific network settings, which you can get to via the settings interface, which I'll show you in a bit, but also decided to provide a direct button to that interface here. It would also be an enormous win if we could set separately the minimum number of fusion rounds to send versus the fusion goal. Like maybe I want my coins to reach 20 if possible, but I'm willing to spend them after 5. The address book is also in tools, pretty simple interface here. So the current releases interfaces for encrypt, decrypt, and sign or verify messages uses one interface for both of their respective features, and it's up to the user to basically just fill in what they have, click the button that gives them what they want in the remaining field. And the redesign, the interface is more explicit. So first you choose what you're there to do, and then the interface adjusts to make doing that job linear and intuitive. So you fill in the top 2 here and you hit decrypt versus, in this case, where you fill in the message in the public key and hit encrypt. The same kind of thing can be done with the sign verify message, where it's like, okay, what are you here to do? And then depending on whether you're here to verify or sign, the top will be a message and a signature or a message and an address. We've got a button to browse the addresses. We've got sweet private keys. We've got an updated plugin manager. The current plugin manager requires that you first select a plugin to interact with and then select the action at the bottom of the screen. And redesign aims to make things a little more explicit, again, by giving each plugin its own buttons for enabling, disabling, uninstalling, and, if applicable, settings. Finally, the load a transaction tool. Users can select from one of the 4 options or drag and drop a file for a transaction onto the screen. The current release has settings sort of spread all over the place, and I did my best to consolidate them to this one interface here, and then more advanced settings can be gotten to from this settings page. Remember, everything that's underlined has help text written for it. For outgoing transactions, this is where we want to set spend only confirmed coins, reuse addresses for change, use multiple addresses at once, sign with legacy signatures. We got location / sources, user interface settings, the server / connection, and here's where you can get to the Cash Fusion settings and the server / network status page. Then you got proxy and Tor and other. And then finally you got file. So there's an overview, at least, of the proposal. You're welcome to take a closer look at the Figma file or the prototype. Links in the description. As for what's next, some of that will depend on the reaction to this video. So if you see changes in this video that you think would be valuable or beneficial to Electron Cash, let the developers know. Please don't harass them, but definitely do let them know specifics on what you'd like to see from this proposal implemented. Because especially the bigger picture rearrangements of the UI have an uphill battle. This is something that's not necessarily a high priority for the current Electron Cash developers. And admittedly, I did come in rather stubbornly and say, this is what I think needs to be reevaluated, and went and worked on that. Of course, whatever the best way ends up being that I can make a positive difference for the Electron Cash user interface, that's what I'm going to try to do. And whether that ends up looking like lots of small changes to build up momentum and sort of treating this redesign as an end goal, or maybe it'll end up being the situation where actually changing the whole UI framework is a good idea and the current developers would prefer not changes to be worked on in a completely different fork. Maybe if that's the case, then, it'll be the sort of thing where actually we want to build this interface up, sort of from the ground up as opposed to approaching it from the current interface. These are all possibilities, and after a few weeks, I'll give an update on what the plan is.